Yeah, this was a movie I really liked when I was like 11 and 12. My brother really liked it too. We had the toys, the Commando Elite.
I do not have any memory
make them fight.
I have no memory of these toys existing in real life.
Yeah, but you were past toy age. You would have been 16 or so.
Speak for yourself. Yeah, but I had a brother who was 5 years younger, and we didn't have these in our home. We didn't have money.
Definitive. Okay, well, the toy... Yeah, there were tons of toys. This movie existed because they wanted to sell lots of toys. Doesn't mean...
It's a real duh moment for me because I did not even... When watching it, I'm like, this just didn't have staying power.
Wonder if they ever made toys about this?
No, just was thinking, I have no recollection of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm supposed to see these figures and get nostalgic and be like, yeah, those guys. And it's like, they're so fucking ugly.
Mm-hmm. So had you seen this before?
I mean, enough of, yes, because I would have liked Jay Mohr. I would have already been into I would have been very into Dennis Leary, Phil Hartman. And I wouldn't know his name, but I love the dad, which I can't think of. It was Kevin Dunn.
Kevin Dunn.
I was very into comedy from a young age and stand up and stuff. So that would have been why I liked it.
Okay.
They don't even get to do much. And Dave Cross.
Mm-hmm.
David.
I was not a comedy kid, so the only reason I knew all these people was because they're in Small Soldiers.
That's what they're known for.
I mean, I guess I knew Phil Hartman from The Simpsons, and I knew him because my parents would talk. Did you know he died? It's like that's what I knew about him.
Yeah, that he's dead.
So okay, this was 98 picture. Directed by Joe Dante. Joe Dante, very interesting guy who got his start in the Roger Corman world. Roger Corman was this producer of B movies, really cheaply produced, schlocky horror and exploitation movies.
He had a good saying. Say it.
Oh, he said that if you make a movie for me, if you make a movie for me,
if you successfully
make a movie for me. If you successfully make a movie for me,
my God,
you'll never have to make another movie for me again. So, like Martin Scorsese, Francis Ford Coppola, Ron Howard, Jonathan Demme, James Cameron, and Joe Dante.
It's crazy that they were all friends.
Tons of these people all worked for him and would get to, take their hand and direct in a picture. And Dante, after Jaws in 1975, there were all these copycat movies about creatures of the deep, in the water. Orca the killer whale. Tentacles. Claws.
Claws?
Yes,
like Santa?
claws.
Is he underwater?
Claws
That's what
with
he
a
does
W.
in the off season. With who?
With a W. Claws with a W. Like,
not like a claws.
And maybe that wasn't under the water. I don't know what it's about.
Well, I mean, crabs, right?
There you go.
That's
yes, it's about crabs, definitively.
I did this, so now we know it's true.
Mm-hmm. Dante was assigned to direct this movie called Piranha.
Wait a minute. Is this why when we were walking the other day, we were in the car, you said, guess how many people would you say have been attacked by piranhas?
No, have been killed by piranhas in the history of
and
mankind.
I guessed 12.
Uh-huh. And I said, no, it's 0. There's 0.
Which I was still shocked. I knew it would be low.
There's 0 confirmed.
Well, yeah, because they're dead.
Deaths that can be attributed to piranhas, deaths of humans.
And I love that. I love why.
Because I watched this video called, as I was just looking up videos about piranhas, because I watched the movie Piranha,
right?
Which I had never seen to prepare for this episode, and there was a video I stumbled upon called "What would happen if you jumped into a tank of piranhas?" And the answer was nothing really. They would swim away from you.
You would be alone in that tank because they are like roaches, more scared of you than you are of them.
But not so scared that they'll attack you because they only attack things their own size, and they're not like aggressive little monsters.
Well, they're flight. They're not fight.
They're flight. They're not fight.
They eat for food like a normal thing with teeth.
Yeah, they have little sharp teeth.
Right. Just because something has the ability to hurt you with something that they own doesn't mean that they're also evil. Yeah. And it makes complete sense when you think about it.
Apparently,
human meat.
God, I don't remember the exact details, but there was Theodore Roosevelt after he was done being president and went on his tour of the world where he'd just go to a country and they'd have a parade for him and he'd wear a helmet. And
to me, yeah, I feel like he wore a hat and like those pants that go out a little bit and then come back in. Riding pants.
Yeah, he'd get on an elephant or something and go shoot another elephant or whatever. Oh. Yeah, and
he'd get on the elephant and shoot it.
He'd shoot the elephant.
Put the gun to his head.
He went to the Amazon and whatever conquered people down there that he was no doubt doing horrible things to, like, honored him by they had a pond of piranhas that they didn't feed, and then they threw a cow into it, and the piranhas massacred the cow. And Roosevelt was like, I must tell everyone in America that this is what piranhas are like. They're vicious and hungry all the time. Okay. And that is the source of the
Teddy Roosevelt
cultural understanding that piranhas are these vicious little things who will hunt as a pack.
Right.
Which they would not do to you if you jumped in a pool.
Use their school mentality to know when, like birds, when they fly and they know when to turn just at the right moment. School, the fish can do the same thing. Mm-hmm. They use that as militaristic weaponry against the human body.
To be fair, I would think the same thing if I saw it.
You're being fair to Teddy. That's good.
Yeah.
He didn't mean to spread lies about the piranha. I'm sure the piranha's fine with it.
Speaking of Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay.
There was no, never mind.
All right.
So that was Piranha, 1978. That movie was a pretty big success, a surprising success, and it launched him on his directorial career, which peaked in 1984 when he made Gremlins.
When did he do Piranha?
78.
78. He had a 6-year. All right. Well, 6 years to the peak. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think he did Inner Space, The Howling. I think those are the two movies he made between. Okay. I've never seen either. He makes Gremlins. Gremlins is a giant hit. What do you think of Gremlins?
We watched it the other night, and I was fully prepared to be on my phone the whole time because I thought I'd be very bored. I remember it being...
You'd seen it before.
But a long time ago. I was probably very young. I did not grow up with an older sibling. I was the older sibling. I wasn't close to older cousins at that time. I am now. Meaning I had no cool or even just shitty adolescent in my life to be like, let's watch something scary. Mm-hmm. So any movie I ever watched would usually be alone, and I discovered it on my own. And if there was any hint of that there would be something scary in it, I would immediately abort because I don't get down like that alone. Mm-hmm. So my guess is I probably saw this alone, or I saw this on accident. And I remember it being terrifying, mm-hmm. which is very strange to remember something being so scary and then to realize now that it's a comedy that's really nice. Mm-hmm. So I don't what the fuck? Maybe I watched the first part of it and like the trailers lead you to believe it was going to be something nice for kids, and then it just was not.
It swerves. No, it
was, but like maybe if I was 6, it wasn't.
Right. Even though it was a giant hit and probably it was such a big hit because it swerves like that. It starts out you think you're watching one kind of movie and then it turns into something else.
I guess it's hard for me to be unbiased about it because I know where it's going, but I feel like there's so much foreshadowing the whole time. Mm-hmm. They give you a big bunch of doofuses that you don't mind seeing die later, or like they set it up for who's going to get some trouble.
Yeah.
Except for that one lady. I just remembered. The lady from the bank, that weird character who's like a Wicked Witch of the West type who wants to kill his main character's dog. Yeah. Nothing ever happens to her, huh?
No.
She never comes up again.
I don't remember.
No, she's just, I don't think so. I just remember thinking, oh, she's going to die a certain way.
You did say that, and it was like,
well, yeah.
I high-fived you. I was like, totally. Never see, she might as well, as they say, she might as well have been wearing a red shirt because the red-shirted Star Trek actors were just extras who were going to die later in the episode.
No, she didn't.
And she didn't. Did she? I don't remember.
Anyway.
But I didn't grow up with it either. But I bet that like the premise of our podcast, and for people our age, I bet like tons of them would say Gremlins is a load-bearing beam. But it's not for us. I'd seen it when I was 20 and I didn't get it. Like, I think.
It's a weird statement.
Yeah.
You must have been primed.
I was primed for something. And when it wasn't that thing, I guess I just thought, like, this is stupid.
what could you have been primed for and then been let down?
I don't know.
Maybe you hadn't yet gotten appreciation for like practical effects, and you were a little too into the depths of CGI blooming at that time. And
maybe I think that the Zach Galligan who plays the lead is like the least urgent.
Oh my, he's a Princess Leia of this fucking movie. Yes.
Lacey hates Princess Leia because
she's got no urgency or energy.
Urgent. Yeah.
He is always taking his fucking time. Everyone else is like,
what are they doing up there? What are the gremlins doing?
Oh man.
Gregory Smith,
Don't
who plays
it's aftermath.
Gregory Smith, who plays the lead in Small Soldiers, similarly kind of not much
there. There,
very Jeb Bush-esque. Doesn't seem like
I find him too cranky.
The gravity of everything
doesn't seem good looking enough or cool enough for Kirsten Dunst. And
but she's really different. She looks at your soul.
Oh.
She likes Led Zeppelin, even though she's a girl. Which, she has anti-war posters on her walls.
Whoa.
So something's up.
And they both like the X-Files.
They have this really weird conversation. I don't know if it's either like
they just have to give you like a crash course in why they get each other. You're talking about after they clean up the store and it gets
she's
messed
like,
up?
do you watch Party of Five? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, I hate it. Me too. Do you like Led Zeppelin? Yes. And I don't. It just sort of goes on like that. Question answer. Question answer.
They had to get it out the way so that you knew. Oh, they get it. They're going to be together. Thank goodness.
But I didn't know if that was either like a parody of bad teenage exchanges, if it was really well observed because teenagers are stupid and awkward, or this is just bad writing. Anyway.
Still don't know.
Not important.
Okay. Small Soldiers.
Gremlins.
Fuck.
Gremlins was produced by Steven Spielberg. It was the first movie that he made for his Amblin production company that he himself did not direct. Mm-hmm. And they marketed it exactly like it was a Steven Spielberg movie. They used the same color tones in the marketing materials for Gremlins that they did for E.T. And remember, E.T. at the time was either the first or second highest grossing movie of all time.
I remember now.
And it was apparently Steven Spielberg's idea. Joe Dante wanted Gizmo to transform into Stripe the evil gremlin. And Spielberg was so into the puppet that they had made for Gizmo, he said, why don't we just let him stay nice the whole movie?
Yeah, and he gets tortured. That's cute.
And Dante said, like, if we hadn't done that, there's no way that movie would be like the giant hit beloved classic that it is. Yeah. There's something about that little guy.
Oh, that little guy.
Yeah.
Because it reminds you of where this all started. And the innocent, whatever. He's just cute.
He's very cute.
He's big eyes and little. Anytime his feet do anything, I'm like, ah.
Yeah. So that was his biggest success.
And Furbies wouldn't have happened.
He kind of it's never been able to really get close again. And it seems like I've read a bunch of interviews with him. He's done like retrospectives where he's like looking back at each of his movies. And what he always seems to say is like, oh, the fucking studio made me do this, or they made me. For example, with Small Soldiers, he was told he was making a very teenage-oriented PG-13 action movie with lots of violence, but they also wanted to sell toys, so they decided, nope, we have to tone down the violence. We have to make this something that we can sell to kids.
It does feel very like, at parts, like, who is this for?
Mm-hmm.
The audience I'm confused. I mean, it feels the only thing I can decide is like if they bothered putting these high caliber comedians in here, even though they don't really let them be very funny, it had to be teens and older. Like the casting seems very mature. It didn't seem at all relatable for children. They didn't spend any money on any like the 7-year-old in it. Who the fuck is he? Spent all their money on adults,
right? Like they did the casting and everything to set up like they were making, an older person movie.
Yes, they were going to say edgier things. It was going to be more. It seemed like it was going to be more leaning on the adults to pull the whole thing. And then all of a sudden the story is pulled along by just the okay kids. Because that's Kirsten Dunst's second or third movie or something.
No, she had like Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, yeah. So that's one.
Jumanji.
2.
But
I said second or third movie.
Okay, but I'm sure she did tons of other stuff
Whatever.
Too. She was,
she wasn't the it girl yet. She hadn't done Bring It On.
Right. hadn't done Spider-Man, yes, she was on the cusp. She was a cusp.
Yes.
Though I mean, like, she gets first billing in the movie, weirdly, over the legend Gregory Smith. Gregory Smith, when he was later on this show Everwood, which I watched every episode of, weirdly, because I didn't do stuff like that. I didn't watch teen soapy WB shows.
Okay.
But when they were when that show debuted, they had a trailer for it that said, "This show stars Treat Williams and introducing Gregory Smith." And I watched it, and this is like 4 years after Small Soldiers, and I was like, well, what a slap in the face to Gregory Smith.
This is a big slap.
I know him already.
Let's do a redo.
Yeah.
Right.
And Chris Pratt was on that show. He was burlier. He played like a douchey sort of jockey character.
Glad he found his way-ish.
So this movie has Gregory Smith as Alan Abernathy.
Sorry.
He's a ne'er-do-well. He burns down schools. Wasn't there something like that?
Did they ever get to what it is that made him? You make one mistake, God.
I think they say that he burned down a something or other. This is all over the place because
It's all over the.
because
no,
they
he
say
pulled some pranks. He suggests burning down the store that they own for
insurance,
and then his very older friend named Joe, also from Gremlins, like gave him a knowing look, like, oh, like, and then the guy's like, you make one mistake, so it leads you to think he definitely set something on fire before.
Yeah.
But then he never gets around.
Arson was involved. I guess they can't. If they give a specific thing to it, then you're like, this guy, fuck this guy. He's an asshole. He burns down people's property.
Something's going on.
You want to make it, wholesome. You're selling it to 8-year-olds.
Yes, that's why I don't think it's fire. Although they do have lots
it is
of fire.
They just don't specify it.
No, he says what he did. He got kicked out of 2 schools, and whatever.
He was the turd burglar. he put laxatives in everybody's milk.
That's not what the turd burglar did.
Wasn't it?
Are you being serious right now?
From American Vandal?
Turd burglar actually shat in things. They found it in a diorama. They kept finding poop places.
Because everyone had taken the laxatives.
I don't think this is right.
Yes.
Whatever. Anyway.
That guy who
We'll go back to this.
The guy who plays Joe, the delivery guy, that actor is in every Joe Dante movie. Dick Miller.
Oh, his name's even Joe.
And when we were watching Gremlins and he's in there, I was thinking, like, where do I know this guy? And I look up his Wikipedia and I'm like, no, he was never like on Friends or anything.
He did have a very like dad, like I know
he has a face like you're like
Happy Days.
Or like, are you like gangster number 8 in a Martin Scorsese movie or something? And the answer is, I guess I just watched Small Soldiers so often that this guy was in my head. Because he has a very close relationship with Alan Abernathy. But it's all over the place.
Alan Abernathy.
Alan Abernathy. That's
Who's that?
The main character's name. Alan.
Oh, I thought you were naming another real person. Oh, all right.
I understand it can be confusing.
Whatever.
They say, like, yeah, that's why you moved here. Like, you just moved to this town.
Right,
but then also, like,
friends with Joe.
Yeah, his dad has owned the store long enough for him to make friends with a delivery driver, and then also for him to say, like, this store never makes any money. You're never going anywhere, Dad. You suck. But it's like, well, didn't you just start the store 6 months ago? Like, give it some time, dude.
That and, I mean, school districts. You just have to move into another school district to get to go to another school. It sounds like he's on his 3rd school district.
Oh, so they moved in the same town.
Yeah, but not the store.
So,
but why would Joe say you just moved here?
Right.
To this store. You move stores into the school district as well, so you get your mail both places. It doesn't make sense.
No.
They don't. There's a lot of shortcuts in this movie. That one's just a sloppy, not catching it something, but like the whole microchip part and the whole way that the doll gets made immediately. I know it just had to be right. It's just there just needs to be a vehicle to get to the part where the whole point is these action figures. But was that not just the laziest fucking way to do it? This guy hacks into the mainframe and
he doesn't hack.
I know he uses his access card to access military grade microchips.
He works for a defense contractor. He works for a toy company that gets bought by a defense contractor. Right. This is the guy played by Jay Mohr, and he and David Cross design toys. And Jay Mohr is the one who wants the he's more populist, and he just wants to chase what kids like. Kids like violence. And Dennis Leary has this great line where he says, let's not call it violence, let's call it action. Kids love action.
Dennis Leary being the CEO of the
defense contractor
that buys a toy company.
Yeah.
Which just that one action in by itself shows the insidiousness of the military industrial complex.
And that it's all linked. And that when the product is free, the product is you.
I knew that phrase would come out of this podcast.
He is given access to all these resources of the defense contractor. I think the point is that he so easily gets it. It's not a mishap, and that's not like.
No, I don't care that he easily got it. I don't think the technology makes sense. You don't put something inside of a tiny rubber thing and it all of a sudden does stuff.
Okay, but then you could do that with anything. You're like, well, this Star Wars doesn't make sense because there are no spaceships that can fly like that.
No, there's clearly infrastructure there. There's other things doing it. This is the first toy of its kind. They put it out in less than 3 months, and all they did was pop a fucking chip into the back of a G.I. Joe, basically, and all of a sudden it does stuff.
Yeah, you have to make the leap that and could actually work.
I leapt there, but I found it very lazy. There could at least be a montage. I guess there was.
That is
well,
montage.
then fit in other things like robotic parts. It's just the chip in the back of a rubber doll's head. That's stupid. You see that there's a robot under it later.
I mean, fine, yes. Show step 2 instead of step 1.
Just carry on with whatever it is that you're going to fucking say.
They want to make these toys. They have these action figures, and Dennis Leary says, because he's a defense contractor and he's this guy who's profited his whole life
very defensive
on creating war. What does he say that any hero needs? An enemy. Let's create an enemy.
Ooh.
So we create the Gorgonites. Now, let me ask you a question. What do you remember from your childhood about Saddam Hussein? Or were you aware of Saddam Hussein?
I knew that when people said his name, they were saying the name of a bad guy.
Yeah.
I knew he was related to war. I probably assumed he didn't like America. To the extent that I understood what the Middle East was, I would have assumed. I probably thought he lived on a desert or something very racist about.
Lived on a desert. On
it, like in a dune. I don't know.
But it was like.
I didn't know much.
Every kid knew that name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The nightly news was a thing.
Yeah. It was very successfully. Listen, I'm not a listener. Full disclosure. Saddam Hussein sucked. He was an evil person. I'm glad he's dead. Even at the time, people were saying, there's a lot of evil people in the world, a lot of shitty dictators, and the media industrial complex seems to be zeroing in on this one particular guy.
Why? What's your theory? Or what? Why?
Because Dennis Leary says we need enemies.
Yeah. Okay. So you can't focus on a few at one time. It seems like the place he lived dictate we wanted that.
The people invested in going to war. The defense contractors, the politicians, the media analysts, the think tank people did a very good job of zeroing in on a character who was very compelling to people, to American audiences, Saddam Hussein, made us hate him, and sold him as this villain that we needed to go take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And
we were in a war drought at the time.
It had been a while.
Been a minute.
And it had been, and
all those factories.
After the Gulf War, there were people.
My chair just broke a little bit. Okay, go ahead.
There were people saying, like, we finally erased Vietnam. Like, we finally got the stink of Vietnam, of the failure of Vietnam out of the air.
But what do we do with all these toys?
That's what I think the Dennis Leary thing. That's what that line is about. Is we need enemies, and it's not like there aren't enemies, but why that one?
Why make one famous? Why make everyone feel that this person's? Why get him known enough so that lots of people can hate him? Because you do plan to take action on that, and you want an excuse.
Yeah, and how are we going to explain to people like my sister, who was born in 2003, 3 months after the war in Iraq started, has not lived in a world in which America has not been at war in Iraq, explain like why that had to happen.
We were all very bored.
That 9/11 happened and we went into Afghanistan, and then separately they also wanted to go to a war in Iraq. And Afghanistan is like not close to Iraq, like at all.
Make a little
very different part of the world, actually.
Right.
And Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11, but there was a lot of patriotism, a lot of even the left and even the American left in the elite were very pro Iraq war.
I never felt
pro war, more
united with. I never liked the American flag or thought much of it until, everyone had one streaming out of their car.
Yeah.
It was a whole thing.
Do you remember that commercial that was like, terrorists wanted to change America on September 11th, and then it fades, showing like a street in suburbia.
Is it Geico?
And it fades, and then it comes back, and it's the same street, but everyone has a flag in their yard. And it's like, they succeeded.
Okie dokie.
Yeah.
Brought to you by America.
Yes.
What was the...
Oh, I have no idea.
Then you're the product.
My God. But that was just the predecessor of, posting a black tile on your Instagram or whatever to show solidarity with Black Lives Matter. Or,
yeah, I know that. Right. I liked it. After Katrina, I liked it too. Everyone had to defend New Orleans, and
I feel like such a good person when I put the rainbow tint on my Facebook profile after like the Pulse nightclub shooting or whatever.
Oh yeah, when you wrap your picture in a frame, yeah.
Yeah, I'm so.
Yeah, if I could reach my back, I'd pat it.
Yeah. Do you think that kids movies like this, an anti-war kids movie, or any kind of kids entertainment that has a message? I guess this message is too subtle.
I really
and
miss
poorly
the message
of Small Soldiers.
Yeah, you keep saying it's an anti-war message. I felt the whole time it was anti-corporation. I never thought of what they were doing as military. I thought Dennis Leary was the bad person. It was the bad thing. Now I see.
And he's not even the bad thing. It's just there's a system, the monster, the beast, the maw.
But he's mean.
A participant.
And so that's all I needed.
Anyway. Well, okay, then it's a failure.
It's a failure.
If it had do you think kids movies or whatever
a kid
can actually shape the way kids view the world?
Can I think of one instance where watching a movie changed me politically or made me aware of a social issue? I think it's when I watched adult movies that happened. Because I'd say the first time that I had that feeling of like I've changed some is The Color Purple. So that's not a kid movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you're asking, can a kid movie do that? Would you say Avatar's a kid movie?
It's a family movie, or it's kids. Kids definitely saw it.
To the extent that you're trying to get a military and just like consumerism, just eat up all the resources, take. To the extent that a kid movie can do it, I'd say Fern Gully or Avatar.
I was going to say Fern Gully. Do you think any kid grew up to be an environmentalist because of Fern Gully?
No.
I don't think so either. And it was very trendy for a while to say that Harry Potter created a generation of progressives.
Why?
Because so many people grew up reading Harry Potter, and because it has what seem like these progressive values of tolerance, diversity, because of people of all different. Because Voldemort is somebody who wants purity,
right? Oh, yeah.
He's a white supremacist,
right. And Hermione is not pure blood or whatever.
Yeah, she's Muggle born, so
oh, right. She's not any blood at all.
Right.
Harry was a
half blood
mixture. Mm-hmm.
It was very trendy to say that that's why so many young people are progressives is because of Harry Potter. And now we know J.K. Rowling hates trans people and is
which is crazy.
You look back again at those books and you're like, well, they're very traditional, and the woman Tonks, the shape-shifting witch who has eccentric hair eventually learns to dress more properly and behave like a proper lady and get married to a nice man. Hermione's the one who figures everything out, but Harry, because he's a brave man, is the one who actually gets to do all the things.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think they're connected. I think
I think we're progressing. Now we're progressives.
And then you look back and you're like, oh, they all read Harry Potter. That's what it was.
That's because it was the most popular thing out there. So most people have had some
everyone read Harry Potter.
Not my cousins, but yeah. A lot of people. I didn't until I was an adult.
Well, I'm like probably half the kids who read it grew up to be conservatives and half liberals.
You just put in whatever you want there. Yeah. I mean,
that's really what I'm saying. It's a big
enough world. You just make of it whatever makes you feel, whatever you already had before, you apply it there.
Yeah. Or you pick out something, or you say, like, I know this is what they're trying to do, but I see it very differently. Right. I read it very differently.
Like the Bible.
I experience it very differently. Exactly. Just like the Bible. Harry Potter equals Bible.
That's what I'm saying.
This movie's not very good, though. It has a lot of interesting stuff. What did you think?
I sat down ready to be so pissed at how bored I was. And just like with your precious little time to absorb new music, I feel the same way about TV time. So when you pick a shit movie, I am so mad when it's time to watch it. But it was not like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was not like The Mummy Returns. It moved. It moved enough. The action sequence at the end is probably too. I don't know that they lean in enough to how easy it is to just kind of like kick them. Like I like whenever they're I don't like when they're all just they're really resisting and like being overcome by these tiny things. I think it's more interesting if every now and then they land a shot, but most times you just flick them off.
Right.
I feel like they didn't take advantage.
That would be funny.
And then the mom randomly becomes interesting in that fight sequence. Where the fuck? She was a nothing character, and then now she's a tennis pro, and that's the parents develop a bit in that fight sequence.
The fight
but in
sequence,
a weird way. The sleepy mom,
I think,
very athletic mom. Why?
There's like a 45-minute action sequence set piece to end the movie, and that's the part that sucks about the movie. It's so boring. Up until then, it's fine. It like moves. It's like, oh, nice little jokes about the military, nice little jokes about kids' toys. I like the Gorgonites. I like the Commando Elite. They look pretty shitty, but I mean, the CGI looks pretty shitty. The puppetry, it's a mixture of puppetry and CGI. But the voices are all funny. You got Tommy Lee Jones. All the other members of the Commando Elite are voiced by actors who were in the Dirty Dozen. And all of the a few of the Gorgonites are voiced by the members of Spinal Tap, Harry Shearer, Michael McKean, Christopher Guest. Oh. And
I like all those guys.
I certainly like the idea of a thing programmed to kill another thing, and then a thing that's programmed to be a pacifist.
Well, but not just that, programmed to hide. And then when you apply that to reality, what a frustrating fucking toy that is. Because, like, where did it go? Like, you bought $79.99.
Hide from you.
Right. But the Gorgonites, once rattled, will just go in a dumpster. They go to places where they will be disposed of for real. That's just inconvenient. There'd been lawsuits even if the toys hadn't turned violent. Like, the kids just can't find them.
Yeah. And you're going to lose your toy no matter what. So you can just say this toy will hide itself, and your kid's going to lose the toy no matter what, and you'll be like, oh, it's a hiding toy. That's what we should tell.
How fun.
That's what we should tell Macy anytime she loses anything. Like, well, actually, that was a self-hiding brush.
Okay,
No?
Let's not.
It's a self-hiding remote.
I'll tell you that.
Is this movie just Gremlins remade?
It wishes.
But I mean, it's very the Archer Alan relationship is very similar to Gizmo and Billy.
No, it's not. He's not. That kid's never very nice to that guy. It's annoying.
He's his protector. He takes him with him everywhere. He talks to him. No, he's not.
He doesn't let him talk when he wants. I guess Gizmo gets stuffed into drawers.
Yeah. Oh, come on. It's very similar.
There's even little Gizmo doll that's in them. I mean, they don't hide that it's supposed to be
Joe
very
Dante
similar. Yeah, he's not great at Easter egg hiding, but
And David Cross's password is Gizmo.
And then
Gizmo.
Less than 10 minutes later in the movie, they show a Gizmo.
They do it again, yeah. Oh, they show a Gizmo.
Yeah,
because there's a little Gizmo that's in the dumpster, a little Gizmo action figure. I'm just saying that for the people listening who cannot see the movie in their heads, like,
might have been a good time to flash on the screen. Because, by the way, we are video recording this as well because we plan to put from now on. The podcast will also be in YouTube form. Enjoy.
And that's because we both listened to the New York Times Rabbit Hole podcast about how YouTube is like fucking evil and radicalizes people. And the message I took away, the message I took away from that is like, we need to be on YouTube. The recommendation thing is powerful.
Right.
Because, we have 15 subscribers on YouTube. I'd like to double that by the end of the year.
Oh.
There's one really great moment where, Phil Hartman, this was his last movie, and he's so funny in it. He doesn't have that much to do, but he loves his new TV, and his wife sits down with him to watch their new TV, and they're watching like a war documentary, and she's zoning out and not listening to him, and he's like eating chips, and he just says, "I think World War II was my favorite war."
Oh, yeah.
And I laughed so hard. But I also totally relate to that, because like I'm someone who randomly gets into the American Civil War, World War I, or World War II. It is very I'm a very anti-war person, but I love reading books about wars, and I get
Why
into
let them go to waste? It's already happened.
I get very into the strategy, the characters.
You get into the strategy?
I when I feel like I can understand it, because I have to work really hard to understand it. Okay. But when it starts to click for me, I'm like, oh, I get it now. This is why people love this shit.
All right. So I feel like most wins just kind of that worked out. I guess I don't buy in so much to the. Okay, you were 3 steps ahead. Come on. I mean, yeah,
that
all just kind of worked.
My
out.
main takeaway is there is no strategy. It's just who has more people. But I don't know. It depends on what era you're talking about, what technology was available, etc. Mm-hmm. I remember this. I remember that Lacey's pointing at her watch.
They can see.
She only has so many. Yeah, but most people are still listening.
We have been recording for over an hour, and you took forever to set up.
Okay. Get yourself a small soldier toy, a rodeo burger.
What?
And the small soldiers were very advertised by Burger King. The rodeo burger was relaunched with the small soldiers.
That makes perfect sense.
But this movie was not a big hit because it was for nobody.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
That is the takeaway.